I think of things like the city of Atlantis, Rome, in the height of their technology. Where are they now? They had everything going, aqueducts, military power was crazy, at the pinnacle of their technologies. But you have to ask the question, where are they now? You know, if Atlantis was real, it is no longer in existence. We can't even find artifacts. It's been literally wiped out, somehow ceased to exist. All these countries, all these civilizations thought that they were like the most powerfulest thing on the planet, right? Whatever the cause is, they don't exist anymore. I look at all the crazy stuff going on in our world right now. I see the Ukraine with Russia and China and the South China Sea. Those are just some things. And then you talk about the social things that are going on in our own country, how we are completely divided. We need to step back once in a while, away from technology. Yeah, we have cell phones. Yes, we have all this technology to communicate, but I decided to go back one step in technology and install a CB in my car. So that's what this video is about. When the grid goes down, your phone's gonna go down. Any kind of computer, anything that you normally communicate with, which in my opinion is kind of a good thing, because then you're not gonna have all these media platforms feeding you all this stuff. It's going to be actually a good change if it went down for a while. People will actually talk to their neighbor, right? If they're not being fed that their neighbor's their enemies. If they're not being told that don't come out of your house because you're supposed to be so scared of everything. People are going to do that when the grid goes down. They might actually come out and talk to their neighbor. So, sidetracking here. I'm going to install a CB radio. I had to come out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm kind of on the edge of town, on the front range of Colorado, west of Denver, but not quite in the mountains yet. This is what they call the front range. It's the foothills, basically, to the Rocky Mountains. Once you pass these, you get to the big boys. You get to the big 14,000 foot mountains, but these are all typically about maybe 6,000 to 8,000 feet tall. It's usually my hiking grounds right there. I should probably be out hiking right now, but this is something I've been needing to do, calibrate this radio so I can communicate with those people when the power grid goes down. So the height of past civilizations, it was their arrogance and their pride and not giving thanks to the true God. They put their creations ahead of themselves, and eventually it would ruin them. I see a lot of contrast between them and us now, and we rely too much on technology, I'm afraid. A lot of you are more optimistic than I, but I feel like technology is not always going to be with us. I believe a second dark age is at hand, and in order for me to get a grasp on this, so to say, I decided to step backwards 2 steps to go forward 1. And what I mean by this is, by going back to a primitive technology in comparison to our phones, the CB radio will enable me to communicate within my car, not on the grid. As long as I had a battery in my car, I will be able to communicate with those who are like-minded. Communication is going to be key to know what's going on in the world around you, albeit just the local area. But communication is a very important part of being prepared. My plans are, after I calibrate this, to clean my car out, you know. I installed this Midland radio. I did some research. It got semi-decent reviews. I mean, there's better ones out there. The problem with CB radios is that everything's going digital, right? Everything's going to go digital. This will be obsolete, but when the power goes down, anybody else that has one of these, you're going to be able to still communicate with them, okay? The digital ones, everything will be able to be monitored. And if they really want to be cynical, they could just turn you off your communications at any point, right? I don't believe they can do that here. they can still locate you with one of these. I'm not too concerned. I'm not a criminal. I don't do anything wrong. Midland is like a decent brand, Chinese. I got this because of the price. Between the cable and the antenna and everything, it ran me probably about $130 total. I mounted this on my hand gripper, whatever you want to call it. And I got a antenna that runs from the back of this. I directly connected it into the fuse box for power. And then the antenna cable, the coaxial cable, whatever you want to call it, runs under this footer all the way into the back of my car, where I have mounted on my gas can, my jerry can rig, I've got a fire stick too. So this is the thing we're calibrating today. It's about 5 feet total. We need to make some adjustments though to make it so that I can get some decent signals from the CB radio. They recommend that you go out into an area that has as little houses, little hills, obstacles as possible. This is about as good as I can do unless I want to drive, 50 miles from where I'm at. I do have some electrical lines here that are not ideal, but I'm hoping they're not going to obstruct the signal too much. Nothing's really in the way is what I'm trying to get. I then purchased this Workman SWR meter. Very simple one, probably 20 bucks. You had to buy the cable too, which is another $6. Really basic, like I said. But this is how we are going to calibrate. Ideally, you want each channel on your radio to be below 1.5 on this. You can see this 1.5. Sometimes they'll go up to 3. Any more than that, that means you're losing a lot of power out of your antenna. Allegedly, you can fry your transistor radio if it's higher than anyhow. The back of this, you're going to hook one end to your antenna, one end to your transistor radio, and the signal will be fed through this device. We will go through channel by channel and just see what the readings are. SWR meter connected to the back of this. I'm going to turn on the power. By the way, I should disclaim this, that there's way better YouTube videos showing the progress of hooking this up. I suggest you look at a few of these YouTube videos. Just get a better grip on the idea of this whole thing, the whole concept. I don't want you ruining your radio because you watch my video. But allegedly, you can keep this permanently installed. I wouldn't mind doing that. I don't know where I would attach it to. So one cool thing I learned on the internet is 17 is for trucker communication going north and southbound, and channel 19 is for trucker communication going east and westbound. So that's good to know because I've got the major highway I-70 here, so I'd want to listen to truckers on 19, and if I want to listen to truckers on I-25, turn it to 17. But right now my antenna isn't calibrated, so I'm not getting very good reception. 9 is emergency communication, so that's what you'd use for communicating like SOS back when these were more relevant. But like I said, this is for when grid goes down. This isn't necessarily for now because the digital age is coming to play and they might not even use this at all. I'm going to turn it to channel 1 to start this whole gig. So basically the idea is that you're going to set it on your channel. This is on channel 40. You're going to put this thing on forward and hold down your transmitter and you'll see the needle jump up. With this reference, you want to bring it to set, then drop this down to reference, pretty good where it's at. And we turn it to channel 1, forward, hold it, set the reference. It's all out of whack though. I think that this probably because of those antennas. As you could tell, there was definitely some interference being by those antennas. So I went down the street maybe a mile to a park, which I'm not allowed in because of the COVID, but I'm parked at the gate. I'm going to see if I can get a better reading to adjust this antenna.
So there you have it. I didn't go into too much details about the calibration of the antenna. It's kind of really boring and meticulous. Now, communication is huge when the grid goes down. If the grid goes, grid communication, such as CB radio or ham radios in general. Eventually I'll get a radio in the house so that I can communicate from my vehicle to the house. It's going to be good to know what's going on in your immediate world. Sometimes you can pick up on these CBs across the country. You know, it depends on the waves, the wavelengths going by, but they're not that reliable. You definitely want this as a plan B for communication. Cell phones would be obviously the best way of communicating, but in case that goes down, you know, the CB is a backup tool, and it's not that much of an investment. 130 bucks, come on now. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you liked it, and that's all I got for this one. We'll see ya.